you saw my other video where I talked about the brain being an organic computer. It's just a living organism, and somehow it's storing that information on there. I also talked about how people tend to not see the reality in which we have. Just like on my YouTube channel, I have that tiny little ball away from the sun, and that you see is that we're super small in this huge entire universe. And I think it's sometimes that, you know, people get so busy with work and everyday life is that you forget to even think that you float on this little ball. Now, and just like that, with a distorted perception of reality, is that I wanted to talk about reality itself and say that, is your reality as real as you think? Is that maybe our reality isn't as real as we really think? And another topic I want to get into on that is the present moment. When people talk about present, being present in the present moment, well, is your present moment really that present? Well, let's find out. Is everything that we're really seeing as true as we really perceive it to be? And the answer is maybe not. And it seems that even when you look at present moment, when you think that right now I'm making this video, I'm in the present moment, is that maybe that in itself is a distorted perception, because am I really in the present moment? And people would say, yes, you are in the present moment. But I'm going to get into some details in the topic of your brain and how it processes things, and how that might not actually be so true after all when you think about it. The first thing I want to talk about is, so the brain, right? It processes image and sounds and thoughts, and basically what we see is light coming into our eyes, through our eyes, right? Just like a photography camera, as that light comes into the camera, it's all based around light, okay? And how the camera processes light, how much light comes into the camera, how fast, you know, the exposure it'll get from that light. Your brain is just like that, okay? The image, what you're seeing right now, it's not really what your eyes are seeing. It's all done in your brain. With the actual image, it's inside your brain. Your brain is processing an image, okay? And in your brain is that's what you're seeing, okay? Along with everything else, with our senses, right? We have our 5 senses, everyone knows, you know, sight, touch, smell, taste, hear, okay? All these senses, every one of our senses, right, is processed through the brain, okay? And how that's done, it is all kind of processed different, but the fact is that the signal ultimately stems from like a nerve, for instance. So when something touches your skin, right, on your body, is that those nerves send a signal to your brain then processes that signal, and that's done with all of our senses. And so let's talk about it. So now what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing right now, okay, is being processed in my brain. That means what I'm looking at directly right now all around me is that light's coming into my eyes, and now there's a certain amount of time for that light to come into my eyes, and then for my brain to actually process that information, and then not only process it, but then to see how I view that image, okay, for me to understand that image. So what I'm getting at here is that it takes thousandths of a second for the brain to do that. In all of our senses, it takes milliseconds for our brain to actually process that information before you can actually see it, okay, or before you can actually feel it, okay? So it's delayed. So you're actually out of the time of reality. So you're actually out of the present moment of what's actually occurring right now, is that it's something in the past. Whether it's a millisecond or a second, is that it had already happened. And when you look at the past, it means that anything that is not happening in the exact same present moment, it means that anything that has happened in the past. So, you know, whether that's a millisecond or 5 seconds or a day ago, is that's in the past. Once it passes that line, right, of being in the present moment, you're now thinking of something that's in the past. And so how present is your moment? Theoretically, you're looking at images and hearing things and feeling things that have already happened, that you're not actually feeling them in the present moment because you can't. It takes your brain time to actually process that image. And I'll give you some examples for that. Like I was talking about vision and seeing, it's the light coming into your eyes. Now, not only does it take a specific amount of time for the light to come into your eyes and for your brain to see that image and then process it, after your brain actually sees that image, it then takes more time for your brain to actually respond to that image, to recognize what it's seeing. Okay, and I did some research on it. Obviously there's not going to be an exact pinpoint number, no one's going to be able to pinpoint, but the bottom line is what I'm trying to get at is that it takes seconds, milliseconds, okay? From what I've looked up is that it's roughly around anywhere from like 13, 14, 15 milliseconds up to like 100 milliseconds by the time that what your eyes can actually see, okay? And whether it's, 15 milliseconds or 80 milliseconds, is that it's in the past. It's something that had already occurred, and your brain takes time to actually process that information. And so what I'm getting at here is that the shorter the time span and the faster it is, the harder it is for your brain to even see it, number one. But then your brain, if it's so fast, your brain might see it, but it would be so fast that your brain wouldn't have time to process it, okay? So there's two different things there, that something could be so fast that your eyes don't even catch it because it's extremely fast. Or you have like that second option, which is that it's so fast is that your brain does catch it, but it's so rapid that your brain can't process the information. So you have one that it's so fast that your brain just completely, like, it bypasses your vision. You can't even see it because it went so fast. The other is that it's so fast is that your brain was able to catch it, but it wasn't able to process the information, and it's almost like you might as well be guessing because you have no idea what you saw. So what I'm talking about is your general vision. What you're seeing right now in front of you, what you're processing, is that all that information, what you're seeing is that it's in a time frame that which your brain can see it and then also process what you're seeing. So to be in that range where your brain can really actually see it and process it, you're probably within that 50 to 80 milliseconds for your brain to actually really respond to it and understand what you're seeing. So what I'm talking about is a manipulated and distorted reality of what we think is really real, maybe not be so real after all. Because how can, if I'm looking at this, what I'm looking at right now, which would be my present moment, is a past moment. What I'm looking at right now has already passed. It's a past moment. So I'm actually seeing in delay. Okay, I'm seeing a moment that has already passed. So is that really the present moment? And now again, in another example of how what we think is really reality may not be, because you ask that question, how can it really be true reality? Or am I getting a perception of true reality if what I'm seeing is a moment that has actually already passed? That means it's just like if you're watching a movie and you rewind it. Okay, it's playing out in your brain a moment that doesn't exist anymore. To elaborate further on that is, let's say the seconds, how something's so fast, and that how it relates to our true reality of what we're perceiving may not be true. Is that, let's say there's something that's so fast, let's say it's 1 millisecond, so fast that your brain can't even see it or process it, and that if it went by, you wouldn't have even noticed because your brain can't process it or pick it up. So let's say something right now went by so fast right in front of my face, is that the time frame that it was so fast that my brain couldn't even see it, let alone process it to even recognize that it was even there. That means that in reality, in the true reality, is that there was an object there, that something was there. And the true reality is that there was something there. There was an object there that passed in front of my face. But what I'm perceiving is that nothing was there, that I didn't even see it. Okay, so again, if you're saying that no, it is true reality, but I just gave you an example of how something that truly was there that you can't even see because it was so fast that your brain couldn't pick it up. That means that in the present moment, I'm seeing something that's not truly there. That something that is there that I'm not seeing. And I'm also seeing it in a delayed fashion. Everything that I'm doing right now, my hand movements that I'm making right now, I've already done in the past. Because by the time I see my hand go like this and I actually see it process, is that instant, it had already happened milliseconds ago. And I'm just replaying that image in my head. So it's almost like you're walking around in a delayed perception of a true reality. So to even elaborate further on site, like what you're seeing is that we all claim to think that what we're seeing is so real, but like I just gave you an instance which something that can be there is actually not, because based on the amount of time our brain needs to process it and understand what it is, it's too fast. Also, for instance, is that the light that comes into our eyes, the image that is processed in our brain is actually flipped upside down. Okay, so what your brain actually sees, just kind of like a camera, like almost like a negative on a photography camera or whatever, is that the image in your brain is actually flipped upside down. So what your brain sees is actually not even what you're actually seeing. The brain and then flips the image to see it the way that it is. Okay, so in that sense in itself, you could say you're already looking at something that's not really true because your brain's processing it in a complete different way than what it's actually coming in as. Your brain's flipping that image. And then also, for instance, colors or type of vision, and this is where I get to, is the perception of a true reality, okay? Is that, let's say, for instance, you're in a field of grass and you're looking at the grass and you ask someone, you go, what color is the grass? And majority of people, that's stupid, or majority of people, it's green, of course it's green. That's the truth, that's the true reality. But is it? Is it really? Because guess what? Imagine that's just to you. There could be another person who's colorblind, who that grass is not green. Or there's other animals that see colors in a different way. Okay, which to you is green, an animal may see it in black and white. Okay, there's some animals, right, that see heat radiation. So if they looked at the grass, they just see heat radiation stemming from the grass, and that's their reality. So again, if you were to line up all these different animals and people even who see different colors and yourself, then what that true color is, how can you really say what color it really is? You can't. So what I'm getting at here is that there's a true reality of what that object is. And so in a true reality, you could say, right, there's an existence of all truth and all knowing of everything that you know. That grass is some type of color and some true reality. And then you have all these other people, humans, animals, that are perceiving that color of what they see, that their brain processes in a different color. So how can I say that that grass is green? In the true reality, is it really green, or is it black and white? Okay, or is the true color of it the heat radiation like another animal sees it in? Okay, or is it like the person who may be colorblind who sees it a different color? Maybe is that the true color of it? So you can't really even answer that question. You can't say definitively that that's green grass. While it may seem that way and it may come off across as that sounds stupid, you can't say that the grass is green when there's all these other animals or different type of people and organisms that see it a different way. So again, that's where you almost see that separation of what I believe is that you have a true reality, right? An all-knowing truth of everything. In a true reality, that something exists, right? In a true reality without us perceiving it in a different way. So we can never really know what the true color of that grass is. We can't. It resides in some other true reality that we can't really know. We're just only perceiving what we think that color is. So that kind of leaves it down to, if you can't really say what color it is, you go, well, is it heat radiation? Is it black or white? Is it green? Well, then that means you can't really answer that question. So that really boils down to, in a true reality, in an essence or dimension where you know the exact truth of what the color of the grass truly is, that means that it's either some color that we can't know or we don't know, or there's no color at all. There's no color at all, and we're just perceiving it to be a color. When the true reality might be, there's no color at all. Maybe there's nothing there at all, and we're perceiving what that is differently than what the true reality of it is. And so what I'm finally getting at here is that everything, all our senses that we have, our sense of touch, our sight, our smells, our hearing, everything takes milliseconds to be processed by the brain. And not only just one, it takes milliseconds for the brain to respond to it, to get the image or sound in its head, but then it also takes a certain amount of time to process that, to make sense to the person. So what I'm saying is that we're all using these limited amount of senses. We have 5 senses, and we're all perceiving what we think to be true. And that really, just like with the images, that is what you're really seeing true. And it seems to be that, how can it be true if something could go by so fast and you don't even see it? The truth is that there was something there, but you're perceiving that there is nothing there. So again, is your reality as real as it really seems to be? And is your present moment really as present as you really think it is? Because if everything that you're seeing and hearing and feeling is a delayed reaction that had a moment that has already passed, how can it be your present moment? Think about that. Can it really be a present moment if it's already happened and you're just now processing it? That doesn't make sense.